Hello and welcome to the first episode of the Don't Listen to This podcast. I am your one and only host, Jake Brown, and if you are listening right now, don't. And it's that simple. We are going to be talking about a lot of stuff, a lot of government-approved content today, and there's nothing you can do about it. There's one thing you should do about it, and that's to revert your ears, maybe. You don't have to listen to this. I want to remind all of our listeners who don't likely exist, as they shouldn't, because they should not be listening, as this is the Don't Listen to This podcast. So, to all of them, content warning. There will be a lot of monthly and weekly discussions going on. Lots of music, musical numbers, and musical letters we will be reading today. Entries from the Bible. Eating pistachios, reading the packaging, you name it. It's being done on this podcast, and you don't care. You don't care. You really don't, but you'll keep listening. Because you just love breaking the rules. You just love reading the rules and breaking all of them because you're just such a little rebel. And that's how we raised you. And for that, I'm going to be presenting you this first tune coming to us from Randy and the Speed Racers. This is off their third record, A Night Leaning Against the Piano in the Trees in the Twilight. It was a 68 album. We have Richard Thumbnails on guitar, Michael Maxwell Max on the sax, and of course we can't forget the legend himself, Gary What's Burning in the Kitchen McGee Street Lace on the keys. So here's a bit of that. Pretty good. They got a lot of flack for the ending on that one. A lot of flack from the jazz community. The bossa nova community was equally reprehensive on that one. The K-pop community, not so much. Didn't have much to say to that regard. Moving on, we have here a little something I've been working on. I've brought my recorder here to the studio, and I've been learning a little song just for you. And this recorder, very popular instrument, rich history, very rich. They were first invented by the Hershey Company back in 1700, and they were looking to make something a little more on the musical side. And it just so happened that the former CEO of the Hershey Company was, yes, Richard Recorder. And so he named the instrument after him, very humbly so. This particular recorder was, yes, made in Indonesia. And a shout out to all our Indonesian listeners out there. We appreciate you. We love you. We hold you. We pet you. We feed you. Whatever you want out of the fridge. There isn't much today, but there will be more tomorrow. And here's that musical number. This is actually a historic song I'm going to play for you. And it's just dripping in history. And you can actually hear it in the notes if you listen really closely. So here's that. Yeah, so that's how that one sounds. And thank you for listening. You're so sweet. We have your Marshall's receipt on us today. This is in response to the feedback we've been getting from our audience saying we should carry those Marshall's receipts on us at all times. And we know that our good friend Marshall, who cooks the steaks, would be very proud of that. Moving right along today, we have another piece of musical art from our very own Chuck Chuckson from the world-famous band. Who cares? Okay, so here's that. We hope you enjoy. And just a note to all of our listeners out there, they are notorious for breaking the boundaries of the concept we know of playing on beat. And this is a great example of that feat. Jesus, it's a horrible song. Why did they write that? I don't have the answers to that question, but what I can tell you is that we're moving right along with the show, and we're just having a great time. This is a piece written by Ben Stiller, and it was actually written for Ben Stiller as well, which is quite perplexing to the naked eye. So we're going to listen to that. And after that was released, it was decided that Ben Stiller is an atrocious songwriter. He truly is the heartbroken child. We have a guest with us today, and I'd like to introduce them. You all know who this is. It's Lickman. Lickman is here with us today. And we also have Chomper. That's Chomper. They're very happy to be here. We're all having a great time. Yes, we'll get to you. We'll get to you, Lickman. Of course, I didn't invite the dolphin, but there's a dolphin here too. It's an electric dolphin. We don't have many of those. We did have one of those cybernetic ones. We won't talk about that. Let's not talk about that. No, because we have important stuff to talk about today. And I do not want to talk about him. And you don't have to listen, because you won't hear me talking about him, because I'm not going to talk about him. And I know a lot of you got your hopes up. You said, oh, well, I think he's going to do it this time. It's just not going to happen. And I know some of you were like, oh, I saw him do the thing live. There's got to be something to this, right? Pete Davidson was in the news. This guy, Pete Davidson, I have to say, the thing about him is his hair is too close together. A lot of people have been saying this. His hair follicles actually have a green pigment. It's a rare condition, green pigment. And he has to release a bag of ants onto his body before he goes to sleep every night. And when Jennifer Love Hewitt Jackson found this out, things did not go over well. They didn't go over well. And so Pete Davidson now is a registered voter. And that's the result of all this. And it's just insane how these things happen today. Right. Yeah, and we'll get to that. But first, another bit of celebrity news. We had Michael in the studio today, just passing through. Couldn't get him on the show. Maybe next time. But we're really looking forward to having Michael back, because he has had a spur of different stuff going on in his life, right? This has been all over the web, all over on www dots and whatnots. So we really wanted to get in touch with him, see how his invention is coming along. He has the invention convention coming up, and we're all very excited for that. Now, what's really put this guy in the headlines is his enormous elbows. And this didn't come to light until Jennifer Love Hewitt Jackson reported it to reporters, as she so frequently does. And he was using covers and makeup, Hollywood effects. Can you believe it? On his elbows. So we didn't know they were big. And now, of course, he's going to be shunned by the entirety of Hollywood. They're going to cancel his insurance policy. We've been hearing a lot about that. Progressive. Not so progressive, if I do say so myself. No, much more of a insurance guy. I might switch to Geico. I don't know. Geico is one of our sponsors, fortunately. So they might help us out here. That's very... No, I wouldn't say that. No, because, I mean, she was on Seinfeld for a few seasons. So I wouldn't even imagine her in that kind of clothing. But I mean, yeah, but the controller doesn't usually have that much versatility unless you buy like some aftermarket sort of thing. But I wouldn't. No. I mean, I wouldn't. Would you, though? Would you? I mean, those are just dolphin noises. I don't even know what you said. But the interesting thing is, we have another song coming up for everybody. And this next song, from St. Lucia, an artist out in St. Lucia by the name of Reggie Feggie Jackerson. And Reggie Feggie Jackerson sent us this piece, and he was very humbled when we accepted it, and then subsequently rejected it and sent it back to him and said, send us something better. And he did not. But this is now what we have. This is what we have the legal rights to play on this podcast. So I hope you'll listen for maybe a millisecond, and then you'll realize that you shouldn't be listening, because you are listening to the Don't Listen to This podcast. I want you to remember that when you go to sleep tonight, that you're a disobedient little bitch. And I do have to apologize to all of our listeners. I would never say something like that. Never. To our listeners, I would not call them that. Disobedient bitches, no. And here's that song. All right. Will you shut up? Can't even enjoy St. Lucian music. Yeah, okay, sure. Okay. All right. Now you're speaking my language, okay. Yeah. You have to really look at those nutrition facts, because it'll really get you. High fructose corn syrup. Syrup? You got to be on the lookout for all of its pronunciations, because they'll hide it behind whatever one they want, and you won't know it, and your echidna will not be pleased. Whoa, okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's come that time of the podcast where we read our message of the day. And this message of the day comes to us from Joe's Crab Shack. Drinking before noon makes you a pirate, not an alcoholic. And that is just wonderful to hear. To all our listeners out there, thank you for not listening, because you're not supposed to. This is the Don't Listen to This podcast. We still got one more musical number coming up for you, and another reading from a novel coming out soon, published by the New York Cork. The New York Cork has been known for writing very thought out and unoriginal fiction, but still provoking nonetheless, because they modernized it for newer audiences. And they do this about every 15 years. They put out the same thing, we read it, and we love it. And we're really excited for that. So we're gonna have that next piece of music play. And of course, we're gonna get right into it. So here we are. And this is another jazz piece coming to us from Carl Ricky Rick and the Dicks, off of their 7th EP, because they don't put out full lengths. Don't ask me why. Titled Windows 7 Into Heaven. With my lovin', I am coming. This song in particular called Wedding at the Disposal Unit. And we have Garlic Passersons on bass. One of my all-time favorites. And we have Chocolate Cheekerson on drums, of course. And then we have none other than Carlisle Pickle, in quotation marks, Brown, on the saxophone. And of course, Carol, Care, Bear, Care, on the I don't care. She's on it, and we're on it because we're listening, and that's what happens when you listen. Ladies and gentlemen, here's the song. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, 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 for listening. That was our final song of the night, and as promised, we will now be getting right into our next segment, where we'll be reading from the fiction, as discussed before. And this comes from the upcoming novel titled Skittle My Diddle Diddle. Riddle? Huh? Yes. Snickers bar. Oh, tasty. Whoa. Wait. Chicken noodle soul? Chicken noodle bowl? Okay. Interesting. Tell me more. Bill Nye, Science Guy. Guy? Fieri. Famously. It's time to be... Wait. Washing machine noises, and yeah, how to do what you wanted to be rich, by Simon Says, how to Bill Maher, Chevrolet.com.wizard, and this was written by Charlotte's Web. And we're going to read from chapter 3 because this chapter in particular speaks to me very much. It follows young Sharon Wilbur in her early journey. And let's read. I began to see inside of his whim. He was blasted upon crevices none other could see by whilst I, and I pledged to be. Later that evening, I stumbled upon a crayon on the ground, and I wondered, had this been derived from something Ashburn-worthy in its nature? No. But I said, can you please take this to the Shilling Chef at 33rd Street? My son replied hastily, no, Mom, no, Mom, no, Mom, no, no, Mom, no, no. I applied back to him, but young, but you see, we cannot continue these things as we do. For I am young, I am strong, but I am still your mother. He looked with a grin almost sinister in nature before her, at her feet. That will not work on me, Silas, she said to him, with a sneer. Suddenly the dog crept up behind and ate the crown off the floor. His name was Bogey, and Bogey often ate crayons. They had both grown very fond of him. He would be killed the next day. And so started the tragedy that she always foresaw, saw Blade, Trinity, in theaters that night. She requested popcorn of a size that the theater did not supply, and this was quite embarrassing to her. That night she had pondered the idea of larger popcorn, and her son Silas, if he worked at the theater, this would be how everything was to be. She looked over the receipt from Walgreens and noticed a smudge at the bottom. It was a smudge quite pompous and delicate in its triumphant squalor. She thought this symbolized something, but alas, she was wrong, and it symbolized nothing. Continuing on with her boy, held in her lap, she read from a book, and in that book she read many things. And she was like, wow, I read, she said quietly to herself, which made Silas's eyes flash open quickly and then go back closed as he went off back to start sleeping at that moment. It was sunsets like this that reminded her of her home in Westchester, Virginia, where there was groves of cloth groves. For miles, the eye. Thank you, Lickman. For miles the eye could see. The eagle's eye could see. This brought her a great somber recourse, of course. And she sat with her pie, eating, drifting off to sleep as each millisecond passed. The stars began to shine in through the window, and she knew it was time for the ritual. She put Silas off to sleep, grabbed the peanut butter jar, opened it, struggled at first, but she was earnest. And Ernest does indeed go to Africa. She stared in the peanut butter jar, for minutes on end. They were sharply on end. She began to run her tongue along the inner edges of the jar, scraping every bit she possibly could. Suddenly, Silas walked in. "Mama, what are you doing with the peanut jar?" "Oh, my son," she laughed. "It is merely a ritual. It has been in our family for ages, and someday you too will do this." As she said this, she knew in her mind it was not to be true, for she was the last holder of the sarcophagal lumini, the sacred gem of which kept her very being together. If it were to be removed, or the ritual was not proceeded as scheduled, as meant to be, at least to her, Sharon, then she would shatter into oblivion, her butt cheeks to explode. Silas left motherless. His father would be home, and he'd say, "Oh shit, what happened?" And Silas would be taken away forever by the Zorlofs of Sector 7. And that is the end of the chapter. I hope you all enjoyed that very much. And I also hope you didn't, because why are you listening? Why are you still listening? How did you listen this much to nothing? You're wasting your time. It's called Don't Listen to This Podcast. That means you're not supposed to listen to it. I don't know if that was clear at all, but I'm Jake Brown, and you have been listening to this. And I thank all of our guests today. Tucker in. And tonight's movie recommendation is Matrix Reloaded. We give it A+. So go watch that tonight. Send in your letters and I'll get to all of them, as many of them as I can. I thank you for breaking the rules and listening. Don't ever do it ever again. I'm serious. We'll let it go this one time. But it is the don't listen to this podcast and you will not listen any farther. Sweet dreams.